Hello and welcome yet again. This is our wrap-up session for the summer season for 2024. So what month are we in, guys? We're in August already, aren't we? So it's for August 2024, the Philmont Trek Talk monthly live chat where we have folks on. We have a panel of experts, and then we open it up for folks in the Philmont Trek Talk group on Facebook to come in, ask their questions, share their feedback. Unfortunately, I did not prep as thoroughly as I normally do because I've been busy helping a Philmont staff member make travel arrangements when flights got changed and stranded them at an airport. So unfortunately, I'm rolling in a little less prepared than normal, but we're going to roll with it. And really the idea for this one is we're going to do introductions, and then we're going to talk about anyone who was out there this year. What was your experience? What did you learn? What was different? What have you heard about things moving forward? And then we'll see. We may have some folks join us, some other people who are not normally a part of the panel who will talk about some other things. We'll have to see who got the link and showed up. I was a little late sending the links out to some of the people, but anyhow, so let's dive in with introductions. Hi, I'm Jeff, formerly the skipper of Sea Scout ship 4019 in Burlington, North Carolina, still affiliated with the Sea Scouts. They still let me go play with the Dirt Scouts every summer when I go out to Philmont. I have done, what have I done? 4 1/3 treks. Unfortunately, we may dig into that topic a bit before we're done here this evening. A third, yeah, I know. I don't even want to talk about it, but we will. We'll talk about it. There are things to learn here. And next we have Roberto.
Rob Smith. I am from the Greater St. Louis Area Council, and I'm currently in Ohio, so I'm not in St. Louis now, but I'm the purveyor of highadventurescouting.com and the High Adventure Chair for Troop 85 in O'Fallon, Illinois.
Nice. Welcome.
Awesome. I'm Scott O'Mary. I'm Scoutmaster of Troop 259 here in Plano, Texas, just north of Dallas. And Jeff, you said this is a wrap-up call, but I'm heading to the ranch this Saturday, so I may be a little quiet today.
It's a summer season wrap up, but it also gives us a reason to talk about the other things that happen at the ranch throughout the year. So we can certainly highlight what you're going to do and some of the other opportunities for people who are like, oh no, the summer's over, I didn't make it. Well, guess what? There's still opportunities. You can go the end of this year. You can go before summer season next year. And when we get to Scott, we'll talk about why he's going and maybe some of the other ways you could find yourself out at the ranch. And I'm late, but there we go. High Adventure Scouting. I'm going to drop the link in. I'm going to drop the link over here. Normally, I try to precede these. I have them all ready to go. And I just didn't do it this time. All right, Mark. Sorry.
Hey, Mark Schwer. I'm here in Iowa City, Iowa. I'm a 9-year Phil staffer and just got back from our 40th reunion of the Miners Park rock climbing staff.
Wow.
If we want, we could talk about that a little bit later, but it was kind of a cool deal. So if anybody's ever been there and done any climbing, it's a unique place. And I could talk a little bit about the forest projects going on there with the thinning and stuff like that.
Great. Okay, we will definitely get into that. And as soon as the camera stops moving, I'm going to add Brian to the screen. So Sal, it is what? Your name changed again? How does that keep happening? Huh. So what's your story?
Sal Porto, owner, purveyor of Suncoast Wilderness First Aid, assistant scoutmaster, Troop 212, Greater Tampa Bay Area Council, Philmont Ambassador, and I lead the Philmont contingent every summer to Philmont. This year was
from
number
your
9
council.
for me, by the way, from our
Right.
council. Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I've shared that
And there I am.
as well. So everyone go check out Rob at High Adventure Scouting and Sal at Suncoast WFA. And, that's your homework assignment. All right. Looks like Brian's camera is steady. We're going to add him to the stage as well. Welcome to the program. Thank you for being available on short notice because, I dropped the ball this evening. But welcome. Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Thanks. Brian, I'm I guess technically a COR, but acting as a ASM in a troop in Richmond, Virginia. Just wrapped up my 3rd trek, all as an adult, and getting ready for the 4th one next summer.
Nice. All right. So we'll definitely look to hear what your experience was this year, how it differed, anything you're planning on doing different for next year. All right, where shall we start? Let's start in the top corner, and but before we dig into the wrap up for this summer, Scott, you want to tell us about why you're headed out there, and maybe we can touch on some of the other opportunities people have for non-summer trek stuff at Philmont.
Awesome. Yes, I am heading out with 48 of my fellow scouters from across the United States for the Philmont Leadership Challenge. So there's about 20 staffers there on site this week getting ready for us. And if you're familiar with Wood Badge, it is the next level beyond Wood Badge training. So if you have that training, if you've completed your tickets for Wood Badge or are working on them, you are eligible to go to Philmont Leadership Challenge. It is held at Rayado Ridge, which is the same camp they do Wood Badge at Philmont, the same camp they do Nail at Philmont, if you're familiar with that program. I'm looking forward to it. Should be a fun time. Maybe I can give you a recap of it when I get back in September.
That'll be awesome. So I'm assuming that it's too late for people to sign up. If they're like, whoa, this sounds amazing. Did they miss their chance, right?
They missed their chance. They cap it off at 48
Okay.
for the program. They do have a companion to Philmont Leadership Challenge that's held at the summit. I guess it's called the Summit Leadership Challenge. It's the same program, just held over in West Virginia. And I believe that is in the middle of the summer. So you could actually, it could sync up if you are bringing some scouts to the summit. Maybe you could let them do their thing and you could do the leadership challenge there at the same time. But does not work out at Philmont, though.
Gotcha.
Well, it says there is a wait list.
Oh, well, that's interesting. So we've already heard that. This is just me being a bad host. All right, I'm going to switch where we are, so Brian, everyone can see his face now. Good. So we've already heard that travel plans can really get jacked up for people. So to coming and going from Philmont. So yeah, I guess if they have a wait list and anyone wants to get on it. I doubt at this point that you'd get the call, but there's still a few days left, right?
Right. It is not a trek. It is held 90% at Rayado Ridge. However, there is a one night, I guess you hike out 3 to 4 miles out to a backcountry site and you have a overnight at that location and then back the next day. So yes, you do need to meet all the BSA health and safety requirements, but it's not as strenuous as an actual trek.
Well, it sounds pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to hearing your recap when you get back as to how that went for you. It looks like a really neat program, and
I think it's the last program of the summer season, and then they kick into their fall, autumn activities at the ranch.
Right. Yeah. So let's see here. I'm scrolling to see those are all summer things. Here we go. I'm going to put this up on the screen too. So those additional opportunities would be things like Autumn Adventure. What, a fly fishing invitational? I don't think I've heard of this one before.
Well, That's because it's an invitational. But
Oh, all right. Didn't make the cut. All right.
well, I can't really speak to it for sure, but I believe it's also for people like veterans, and they do some, they do some things for people with disabilities
Right.
and different things too.
Yeah, that looks like a neat program. Cool.
But if you're interested in doing it, I would call out and ask, because I don't know all the details, and Tim Rossize, I know, helps kind of head it up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it said it had Carrie listed as one of the contacts. She's, the person you're most likely to talk to, I think, if you call the Philmont switchboard. So it sounds like you can just call the Philmont number and ask questions about it, and they'll be able to fill in the blanks.
But I do know that you get to go to some of the backcountry camps where you normally wouldn't be fishing.
Neat.
And the fishing is probably better than during the summer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I heard at French Henry a few weeks ago, part of their porch talk said that they have more fish in their little creek that goes through French Henry than Fish Camp does. So I don't know if that's true or not, but
Well, I was part of a Philmont Staff Association project 20 some years ago where we shocked that whole stream. And they reintroduced the native Rio Grande cutthroat to that stream. And there's a barrier at Poniel that keep other fish from coming up in there.
Huh.
And I'm friends with Doug Palmer's boy, Brian, and he's a guide up in the Vermejo, and he says that they're really pretty much thriving in that South Fork.
wow, that's awesome. Well, it's good to know. So, so that was fly fishing. There's autumn adventure, lead no trace level 2 instructor course. Nail, did we miss that? I think that may have happened already.
I think it's this
I think
week. His name.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Other events at the PTC, Sportsman's Adventure.
That's
I
a hunting
think-
trip.
I think that's something that depending on what you want to do and how deep your pockets are, they'll work something out with you. Volunteer vacation if you want to go help do some work on the trail. And winter adventure, you can go to the Gear Report YouTube channel. I've got a video from a few years ago with Luke, who was running winter adventure at the time, that tells you all about that. So those are some other opportunities that you have outside of the traditional summer treks. If you want to get back out to Philmont, either you didn't get enough over the summer or you didn't get to go and you want to find a way to get out there. So those are some additional things that you can do. So let's move into the agenda for people who have been there this year, people who were there. So Mark, did you say you were there for your reunion?
Yes, we had a abbreviated 3-day reunion for the Philmont Staff Association. Actually, two weeks ago, like right now. And of the 10 of us that were on staff at Miners Park 40 years ago, 8 of us were there at Philmont 2 weeks ago today.
Nice.
And 7 of us got to go up to the climbing area.
That's awesome.
And do some climbing. And it just so happened that there were no crews taking rocks that morning. And we had 2 or 3 of the staff all to ourselves. And we just got to spend a couple hours up there with them. And it was
That's
a lot of fun, a lot of memories, a lot of reminiscing.
Good. No one got a ride to the infirmary, I hope.
No, actually, we all like hiked up and hiked down, and
That's awesome.
yeah, no litter carries or nothing.
Right. All right. Well, I'm glad you made it out there. That's good. And it sounds like you were out there while there were crews on the trail. So, did any of you guys see him? Sal, Brian? Sal was early. We know Sal didn't because Sal goes out early in the summer. I was in the backcountry so briefly that I certainly didn't see hardly anyone. But yeah. So, Sal, you want to give us your rundown of what was your experience this year? We'll do Sal, Brian, and then I'll tell my sob story at the end.
Your sob story.
Yeah.
We went out. We 617 crew. There was three crews out there from Tampa. We did South Country, trek number 1214. Did Mount Phillips, Comanche, and all those good ones. South Country. From a crew side, we had no issues. Nobody got pulled off the trail. Nobody got injured. Campsites were good. Staff was good. Had no issues with the staff. Food was normal Philmont food. You ate it because you were hungry. But other than that, I mean, it was awesome. We had no, I'm trying to think, probably no rain to speak of. So that was a good thing because we always go before the monsoons hit. So we had no rain. Didn't see any bears this year for once, and no mountain kitties. So that was pretty good. We did take the new OA trail up to Mount Phillips, which I highly recommend. That is an awesome trail. It just seems like it goes on forever, but it is an awesome trail. There you go. We did Comanche Peak. We did Trail Peak. The only thing we didn't do was spar pole climbing because it was rained out the night before. So we were supposed to do it in the morning. They wouldn't let us do it because everything was wet. But other than that, everything worked perfect for us this year. It was a good trek. I recommend this trek. The worst part was the Clark's Ford Tooth Ridge down to headquarters, down the proverbial trail of, we can't call it Trail of Tears anymore, but Trail of Tears. But that was it. It was a good trek, good year. We're looking forward to next year. Bringing 4 crews next year. So there you go.
Nice. Yeah, that's a long day from Clark's up to Tooth Ridge, but at least you overnighted there and didn't have to go all the way in one day.
No, I've done that before.
That sounds like a miserable day. But
it is a miserable day.
Looks like a whole lot more palatable.
Yeah, well, our boys, our crew wanted to see that I gave the option sunrise or sunset on Tooth. They wanted to see sunset. So we went out and watched sunset from the Tooth, and we left Tooth Ridge at, I want to say 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And we were back at base camp by, I want to say 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Avoid that hottest part of the day when you don't have any shade.
There is no shade. Yes. They were happy, but we did, it was not a bit, first time I ever went to, where was it? Bear Creek. First time at Bear Creek. That's a pretty cool campsite. That's a pretty cool. I like Bear Creek. I like where we were going. But other than that, Red Hills is Red Hills. Yeah. A lot of down trees in Red Hills, but that's normal up that way. But Hunting Lodge was good. Hunting Lodge was closed this year, by the way, if you didn't know.
Interesting.
It was a trail camp, not a staff camp. They only opened it up for PTC tours.
Wow.
But there was no staff there this year for once. That kind of sucked.
Yeah.
But Hunting Lodge is pretty cool.
Hunting Lodge is a great place. I've had multiple treks where we had cold rain on the days that we were going through Hunting Lodge, and they opened it up and built a fire. They got that round fireplace in the middle of the main room there.
Yep.
And they warmed people up and put some hot drinks out, and it was a godsend to have that there. So kind of a shame whenever they have to close down a cabin like that. That could be such a good resource when the weather's bad and crews come in wet and cold.
Hopefully they'll bring it back next year as a staff camp. Boubien was great little camp. Boubien's always good. Both we saw Crater Lake, Boubien, and Clark's campfire programs. all of them are awesome.
Nice.
In fact, Boubien, we saw him 2 days in a row. So
Yeah.
and they had two different shows. That was even better. But
Yeah.
the
That's
campfire programs were good. Crooked Creek was always good. Red Hill, like I said, there's nothing wrong. This was actually was a pretty good trek. I liked it. It wasn't as bad as I imagined it could be. The worst part was doing if you ever done Trail Peak from Crater Lake, it's not my favorite hike.
Right. And did you actually do any of the logging stuff at Crater?
The only thing we did, the scouts did everything but pull spar. They didn't climb.
Right. Okay.
Because
Good.
it was wet, but they got to do the double saws and all that stuff like that. But
Yeah.
they couldn't.
Last few times I've been through there was so wet that they weren't doing anything. Like no one was leaving the porch. So
yeah, no, it was sprinkling, so they let them do the saws and the axes and stuff like that. But they wouldn't let us go up the pulls. But other than that, I mean, it was a sweet little hike.
Good.
That map is wrong.
You learn anything new that you're going to do different next year?
Did I learn anything new? Well, not that I'm going to change it, but this is the first year that I used the meal replacement program at Philmont.
Interesting.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I know how to do it. I've done it. It worked. My meals showed up when I went to wherever I had to pick up food. There was a bag with my name on it. Did
you use their template and pre-print all of the labels and have everything?
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
So that is I got to Philmont several days early this year. My crew showed up on July 15th. I arrived on the evening of the 11th and stayed at the PTC for a while. So here's one learning that I'm going to share with you guys. When you take your crew out there, in addition to Sal's annual advice to call Christine at Leading the Way Tours to get there, once you get there, if you arrive early, you can spend time in trailbound or homebound, whichever side they put you on when you show up early, because that is based on availability. Or you can go across the street to the training center. And I saw a crew do this. One of the nights that I was over in the training center, there was a whole crew in one of the new luxury family tents. They had put a whole crew in there. So and it worked out to be cheaper than if they had put 2 people per tent and rented a bunch of tents at the training center. They got one of those luxury family tents and just packed it full of people. For one night, they'd already been traveling. They were tired. They were going to go to base camp the next day. That gave them an acclimation day. They got to eat at the training center cafeteria. They were right there to do a villa tour and some other things and hit the museum before they started their official crew activities. So there's a tip for people early is show up early. You can actually stay over there at the training center. So Brian, what itinerary were you on?
We were on 1219, so
all right.
Some of the same stops as Sal.
Yeah.
I had not hiked out of or into base camp before, so got to do both of those on this trek, which was pretty cool. I don't know that it's a goal to do both, but doing one or the other is pretty cool. We did manage to get lost in base camp on the way out, which was impressive. They oriented the map upside down and headed towards the closing campfire circle. So that was a great way to start.
Nice. So you went up Tooth Ridge to start? Is that how I'm
No, we went up to Heck Meadow.
Oh, okay.
So it's 4.5, 5 miles of walking through a giant meadow in direct sunlight, which is not too bad if you don't get lost in base camp and actually start on time.
Nice.
Let's see. Saw a couple of bears. I hadn't done any South Country before. Both of my previous treks have been North Country, so this was getting to hit a bunch of stuff that I had not done before. So lots of turkeys, lots of bears. Well, not lots of bears. 3. We think we saw a coyote, although I'm not sure anybody can confirm that that's what it actually was. So fair
Where
amount.
was bears at?
We saw a bear in a meadow slightly before we got to Cimarroncito, and then we saw a couple at some of the crew saw a bear at Cimarroncito, which apparently had a couple of cubs with it. That was a fairly exciting because the staff ended up getting between the mama bear and one of the cubs because apparently a mountain lion had separated the two. So that was a little hectic for a few minutes. That's unfortunately or fortunately all I know. They were able to scare them off. And then there was one in Uraka that we saw on our way out the next to last morning. So
And the coyote, where was that?
I think that was on the way to Apache Springs. I don't remember off the top of my head where we were the day before Apache Springs. You'd have to flip back for me to remember that. Buck Creek, maybe. Yeah.
Apache was from Comanche. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's where it was. It could have been a very large fox, probably a coyote.
Yeah. Well, I ask because in that area around Beaubien, that big meadow that goes from Lower Bonito up to Beaubien, we saw a few years ago, they got prairie dogs all over the place in that meadow. And, we're walking down the road on the one side out towards Beaubien, and all the prairie dogs are popped up and looking at us. And they're all just staring at us and yipping at us and staring at us. And either a wolf or a coyote or something came from the tree line behind them, came up, snatched one out of the hole, ran back into the woods with it. We were like, wow. Yeah.
This was not nearly that exciting. It was just over there, and we're pretty sure that's what it was.
Wow. All right. So did you have any lessons on the trail this time? Anything?
I am still 0 for 3 for finishing a trek with the entire crew intact.
Yeah.
Which is not a goal. I'd like to break that streak. This time it was our crew leader that went out on day, I think, he went out at Cito, came back at I think he came back. Yeah, he came back when we were at Beaubien and then went back out at Uraka. He had some knee issues. They thought they rehabbed it enough. They did not. So I don't know if you're familiar, but like when we left Uraka, he had climbed Uraka Ridge on the south side. So, and when you've got a 17-year-old crying to somebody he doesn't know, like literally crying, like, yeah, that's probably a bad sign. You probably need to bow out.
Yep. Yep. Unfortunately, I can relate a little bit to some of that. So, all right, where were we? I was on here. Okay, good. So, prep wise, you said you're going back. You and Sal both going back. You already know you're going back next year.
Yep.
What are you going to do different?
So this was my first council contingent, which is a completely different game than going with your troop. Next year is another troop trip. I probably will not get to go with the crew that is trying to assemble the All Eagle crew, which is kind of a bummer because I was with half of them on the 22 trip. But doing shakedowns, we're in Virginia, so we don't have elevation, but we do have elevation change if we go far enough west. And really just trying to get the crews identified early enough. So for us, it's going to be sometime next month, identifying the crews so we can start functioning as them as crews on our troop trips. Is probably most of what the actual prep we're going to do. I mean, gear wise, I'm not going to change a whole lot. I am going back to bringing a chair. Sorry. My back did not appreciate it. Not having that in camp. I tried, I failed, or succeeded, depending on which team you're on.
Yeah, don't be sorry. Team chair is the best. So
There you go.
Yeah, give it
Team
a
chair.
shot.
I want people to find what works for them. So good on you for trying. I'm going to talk about crossing some team lines here in a minute. So yeah, no shame in trying new things.
Yeah. I did go back to battery packs instead of solar this time because the solar just did not work when it was cloudy for half of the trek in 22 and didn't want to fuss with that. Not worth the stress.
Yeah, that's been my experience too. I certainly agree with that. Any other learnings? Either of you, Sal, Brian?
No, I mean, I still like peanuts, even though we had 2 kids that had peanut allergies and couldn't eat any of them. One kid was peanuts only. One kid was all tree nuts. So we definitely got to experience the food supply that Sal was talking about. Worked fine as long as we realized that they had our food or we already had it. We thought we were supposed to get resupply for that in Cimarroncito, but for whatever reason, we just carried out that supply. The resupply on this, you'll notice the food pickup on the first 2 days is bizarre.
It's weird, yeah.
You actually, and it's even weirder than that looks because you actually carried 3 days of food out of base camp and then resupplied the next day with another 2 days of food. So it didn't make any sense at all. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah, that is weird. Huh.
The only thing I can think is logistically they want to spread the food disbursements.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
that is goofy.
It was very strange. I mean, we never ended up carrying more than 4 days worth, but I mean, it kind of didn't make any sense to me to carry 3 days for 1 day and then carry 4 days the next. I don't know. I'm sure there was a reason. I'm sure I don't need to know the reason.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, a lot of that stuff isn't too far from PJ. So PJ's, pretty centrally located where you can hop over to it from a lot of places. So that's a little surprising to me, but yeah, I have visited logistics, but I don't claim to understand how and why they do things when they plan, when they lay out the treks. Yeah. Okay, so I will dive into. I'm scrolling to get to the first trek I've ever attempted and failed to complete. So. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Oh, almost. 12:29. It says 83 miles. I have not heard. I was hoping. I thought our contingent lead, Curtis, was going to be with us this evening, but he did tell me he was at a Jellystone campground this evening, and he was going to join if connectivity permitted. So. Apparently, all is not well in Jellystone because he's not here. But I want to get the updated number for what the total was. I had heard earlier in the summer someone reported something like 151 miles or something that they did on this itinerary, and I made it to the end of day 5 on here, and at the beginning of day 5, I was playing around. See, I told so many people I was going to come up with a good story. Here's what happened. It was a coordinated attack by a rogue band of mini bears. And, some of them held me down and the others, they tweaked on my foot until a bone snapped. And that's what happened. As far as you know, that is absolutely what happened. I was not goofing off and joking and bouncing around and tweaked my foot and broke a bone in it, because that would be irresponsible. And I would never do that. Right. So, I tried a lot of new things on this trek that I hadn't done before. And here, you know what, I'm going to go back to let me get that off the screen for a second. I'm going to show you one of the things that I tried. I didn't change over to Team Boot, but I took I wonder if the other one's here. I took both trail runners and some ultralight speed hiking boots on the trail with me and changed them up every day just to see, people keep talking about their boots and you got to take boots. I said, you know what? If I want to earn the right to continue to talk trash about all the boot wearers, then I need to get out there and get some current recent experience. And I'll be honest with you, I tossed them. I shouldn't have tossed them so soon. These Salewa ultralight, what do they call them? Speed hiking boots. They're kind of the bomb. I like them. And I really like the trail running shoes. I'm actually wearing one of them, and the other one was the display model. But I did Summited Baldy in these.
Well, here's the question for you. Here's the question.
Yeah.
What were you wearing when you broke your foot?
That's irrelevant, Sal.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Listen, those mini bears were going to snap that bone no matter what I was wearing.
If you had boots on, they can't eat boots.
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised. They were pretty aggressive mini bears. But anyhow, yeah. So things I tried different. I alternated footwear to see what I liked about each. And honestly, I really like those Salewas. They're really nice, but I will likely be just trail runners moving forward. Trail runners with what do they call them? Gaiters to keep the trash out of the shoes.
Are the boots hot still?
Not as hot as old school boots. These are pretty well ventilated. But that is crucial for me. And that's something that I know me more than a lot of people. I've got like feet that sweat like crazy. And these, you can't tell that this is very breezy up here and on the sides, very well ventilated. If you put me in waterproof, I'd have trench foot, a day and a half in because my feet sweat at a rate that can't be vented by waterproof boots. So, yeah. And I've done all leather waterproof. I wore combat boots on my first trek back in the day, the all leather type with the thick rubber sole. And I'm never going back to heavy boots. But so those were things I tried. I tried something I really liked, and I'm curious for you folks that hiked out in the open. Did anyone in your crew take a backpacking umbrella? Anyone?
Nope.
I've got a former ASM whose his son aged out, so after 5 kids, he decided he didn't need to be in the troop anymore. And he, if he found out I took an umbrella, I would be mocked relentlessly for at least the next decade. There were 1 or 2 times where it would have been nice, but usually like between the wide brimmed hat and the hood of the sun hoodie I was wearing, it was like basically a non-issue.
Yeah. So that's something I tried. I think Norm's saying nope on that as well. Maybe I missed the timing. I think that was for the umbrella. Let's see. Chris saw someone with an umbrella on the trail, a staff member, last week. And I do want to come back to the other comment Norm made about wildlife here in a little bit. But that's something I tried different. I had one. I've had a backpacking umbrella for a couple years, and I didn't take it on the last trek. I said I would, and then it came time to do it, and I said, this thing's just too goofy looking. I can't do it. And I was really trying to keep my base weight down. And this time I just said, you know what? I tested so many new things. I carried, 8 or 10 pounds of extra stuff just so I could do additional gear testing in the field. And that did not contribute. When the mini bears had their way with my foot, I was just wearing basically a day pack. I don't carry a day pack. I empty my main pack and carry it as a day pack. But I wasn't loaded down, so it wasn't the extra weight that caused me to succumb to the mini bears. It was poor judgment, really. But aside from that, let's see. So I did the umbrella. And okay, the reason that I'm going to suggest that people consider every crew should have 1 or 2 umbrellas, consider taking it. If you're going to be in the North Country, if you're going to be in an area that has a reputation for hail. Let me tell you, I thought I had been in a hailstorm before. I have been in hail at Philmont before, but it was never anything to talk about. It was like, oh yeah, a little bit of frozen stuff, no big deal. But oh my goodness, we had hail that was almost golf ball sized, and it came down for several minutes, and then it paused for about 4 minutes, and then it came down again. And the first time it happened, we tried to shelter under some tree branches. And, you know, I picked Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. It gave me no protection whatsoever. The hail actually ripped open skin on the back of my hand and bruised. I had bruises all over the back of my shoulder where it got around the edge of my pack. We had a kid that took 3 of them in a tight pattern on the back of his head. He had a really big goose egg there. It was not pleasant. So I saw a picture afterwards of some other crew that in a hailstorm, they circled the wagons, put an umbrella up in the middle, and everyone just had their head under the umbrella and then their backpacks sticking out. They were protected. And I thought, I had an umbrella. Why didn't I think of that? Well, we're all standing there getting pummeled. So I am going to recommend every crew consider 1 or 2 umbrellas. So if you need to circle the wagons and protect your heads, because that was scary. I mean, literally scary. We had one of the scouts broke down later in the campsite, saying it's sobbing, you know, with tears and snot and everything dripping, sobbing, saying, I thought I was going to die, and meant it. So, and I don't say that to make light of it. I say it to emphasize that it is real and it hits really hard and it sucked. So I see what Brian says here about put a hole through.
We were in Lower Bonito and had the tarp up. Kids were hanging the bear bags, and it kind of started. And we're like, you guys need to get over here now. And by the time they had crossed the 30 yards, we had hail seriously coming down, just like you said, nearly golf ball sized hail. We had one kid put one of the pots over his head and decided to use it as a helmet.
Brilliant.
Until
No
he
one did
realized
that
how
for
loud
us.
that was. And so much of it that we had a pile that had come off of the tarp, enough that we could have made snow cones with the all sport leftovers.
Wow. That would have been a neat idea too.
I've got a photo somewhere. I don't know if I can find it to.
Yeah, we had we had some really significant frozen stuff that came down in a very short period of time. All right, I got to put that on the other screen. This was after we had the 2 hailstorms, and then it rained for like 40 minutes, and we all just sat under the crew tarp while it rained for 40 minutes. And after that, I cleared the stuff out of the way and put my tent out. And this is what was still there like 2-3 hours later. It was really I'd heard people talk about it before, but I had never experienced it quite like that. So that's something that, afterwards I ended up, so after the mini bears had their way with me. And by the way, if you don't believe that story, the base camp ranger, Al Taylor, just go talk to him. Al will back up everything I'm telling you 100%. He was there. He witnessed it, as far as you know.
About the hail or the mini bear?
The mini bear incident, which was the next morning after the hail. We had the hail on the evening of day 4 as we were leaving Baldy Town. And then the next morning, before we went up and down Baldy, is when the mini bears were just out in force and had their way with me and broke the 5th metatarsal in my left foot. But I'm not that bright. So we went up through Copper Park, summited Baldy, and then came down They called it the Gut. I don't know what the name of that trail is, the way that we came down, but we came down the other way. That's much more direct and much steeper. And fun fact, if you break the fifth metatarsal in your left foot, going down is going to be much more painful than going up. And the steeper down it is, the more painful it's going to be. So
You went down the emergency trail? You
not,
didn't go down?
not the goat trail. No.
Just the front side,
Okay.
Yeah. That comes down
right
toward,
into Baldy Town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's a section or two of that are
It's
pretty steep, pretty straight down, lots of rocks of, from the scree all the way up to, bigger things and back and forth. And it was very unpleasant. It would have been fun because you kind of ski down it, if your body is completely intact. But when it's not, it becomes very unpleasant. So I was saying earlier, I got to camp early so that I could go around, and the staff, especially the senior staff at the ranch, really, on behalf of the group, on behalf of Philmont Trek Talk, gave me unprecedented access to go around to different departments, to talk to people, to see things, to interview people, to film things. I also had some new restrictions put on things I could say and things I couldn't say, to keep in mind that Philmont Trek Talk is an unofficial group that's kind of friendly with Philmont, but we're not like sponsored by them or supported by them in any way. We are separate, but we did have, I did have a lot of additional access. Okay. And I apologize. I just saw some photos that got shared here in the private chat. So I'm going to pull those up while I'm talking here. Let's see, there's another one. We'll get those up. Okay. So anyhow, so there have already been, all right, let me see if we can go back over here. And if we look at, so this is the shameless plug portion of the program where we talk about Camping Gear Report. If you're not familiar with that, Gear Report is my publication, and it is the official sponsor of the group. If it weren't for the Gear Report family of YouTube sites and website and everything, this group never would have been created, and would not have had the support to grow to what it is today. I have had at least one video post every day for the last month or two or three. I don't even know how many. Many of them are shorts. Many of them are quick. Lots of them are behind the scenes. You can see that there are a few that are scheduled out right now. We've got how to prepare for steep trails at Philmont. That's going to be my buddy Curtis talking about that. We talked about Al, the base camp ranger. He is going to tell us about water tanks and water treatment the day after. A sign that your Philmont obsession may be unhealthy. That is something we all should be aware of. I think that'll go up the next day. So there are lots of videos going up. There will be long videos. I've got a lot of gear stuff. I did so many things different this year, purely to try new gear and new types of gear. Like, for example, and I don't know where it is. I was going to hold it up and show you. I took a trekking pole tent this year for the first time. So who uses a single wall tent? Single wall tent's a new thing for me. I'd never really done. I have several single wall tents, but I'd never taken one on a trek. And this time I took a Gossamer. Was it a Gossamer Gear the 2? Is that what it was called? And there was a learning curve with that. Absolutely. So I broke, some of the big rules that I tell people for something like a trek is never hit the trail with gear you've never used before. And I took a tent that I set up for the first time on the lawn at the training center before the trek. It was waiting. I called it my box of poor judgment, a bunch of equipment that a company our friends at Rendezvous Adventure Outfitters sent me a bunch of stuff, and apparently the first box got lost. And so they put a new box of stuff together, and it was too late to send it to the house. So it was waiting at the mailroom when I got to Philmont. So the boots I showed you, the shoes I showed you, the tent, the single wall tent that you saw a moment ago, that was all in my box of poor judgment, along with, I took, as I always do, my poncho that I always take, my backpacking poncho. I also took a rain jacket, which I've never done before. And I wouldn't recommend to people take, multiple types of rain gear, but I test gear for a living. So I carry extra stuff with me sometimes. So,
I always took a poncho and used it as my ground cloth.
Oh.
And it had two functions, but I also took a rain jacket.
Yeah.
But I like when you can take things that have at least two functions. That way, in an emergency, you can use it as whatever you need it to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the logic that I use for my sleep clothes. So I have long underwear, thermal underwear, and then like a long semi-insulated shirt, so that on warm nights, I don't have to wear it. I can just leave it in the bag. And on cold nights, or if there's an emergency, I have some extra insulation I can put on if needed. Another thing that showed up right before the trek, it was in my box of poor judgment, was a puffer jacket. So I actually had a puffy jacket with me. I have to wear synthetic. I can't wear down. I'm allergic to down. I learned that one the hard way. But this one from Rab, it's what is it? The Cirrus? I think they call it the Cirrus. I love this jacket. Only problem is it doesn't have pit zips. So that's the same thing with the rain jacket. Like if I didn't take, let's see, if I didn't take the poncho and this was on my only rain jacket, it would not have worked well while moving because there are no pit zips. So I'd end up sweating so much that I wetted it out, and I'd have been just as wet. All right. What other gear things? Anyone try any new gear stuff either at Philmont or in your own camping recently? Anything you tried that you want to talk about?
I mentioned it in one of the threads that was, I think it was today, the Gossamer Gear's 1/8-inch thin light pad.
Uh-huh.
Useless as just a standalone pad.
Mm-hmm.
As an additional thing, as a sit pad, as a thing to just lay on so you don't get all kinds of crap all over you, 100% worth the 2.5, 3.5 ounces. I will take that on every single trip I go on in the future, regardless of where it is.
Yeah, that's neat.
One of the things I used it for was, if I thought I knew where I wanted to put my tent, I'd put that pad down, and it's super thin, and I could say like, oh no, this is not a flat spot, I need to move. It was a great sit pad, even though I am taking a chair next year. It's been great on local trips as insulation in the chair. If it's a little chilly and you're sitting in a chair, it gets that kind of hammock effect behind you. It's good for that. So it's just been for the $25 or whatever and 3 ounces, definitely worth having around.
Yeah, apparently Norm agrees with you there. Norm also said he didn't bring long underwear. See, I have to. I get cold. When I get cold, I'm useless, like more useless than normal. I know that's hard to wrap your head around.
I had the long underwear I took was homemade, but it was the Alpha Direct stuff. So I've got enough of a gear problem that I make some of it.
Yeah,
like a good company. But at 4 ounces for the top and 5 ounces for the bottom, or vice versa, every bit as warm as regular long underwear, and doesn't weigh anything. I mean, nice. Effectively nothing.
Nice. I'm gonna have to look into that Gossamer Gear pad because it sounds like about the same weight as the sit pad that I take with. This been on 1 1/3 treks now because I got the truck ride back. I'd like to give a shout out to Connor from the To the Time Traders. He was the driver who took me back to base camp. So, and and to the infirmary staff, great people, all the medical people. Abby, I learned, I don't know if she wants me to reveal this, so I'm actually not going to reveal that. There was a connection between the CD at Baldy Town and some of the people at the infirmary, but I'm not, I did not have permission to share that, so I won't. But great people all the way around. Everyone that I came in contact with, including Ronnie, who got some, she got just a smidgen of hate from a person last year, and then a bunch of people jumped in and said Ronnie's awesome. Having spent several days in the infirmary tent city, I can see why some parents may have heard from their scout, this lady here's making us do stuff, and they may have gotten a little worked up over it, but having been there and seen it and seen how it's handled and seen how the individual condition of each person is evaluated when they're assigned tasks to do things. I have zero problems with Ronnie. I think she does a good job. The infirmary tent city staff did great. Everyone did great. So I was hoping to never have any experience with them, but I'll show you the fashionable footwear that I brought back. This was, I knocked my microphone out of the way. This was a gift from the infirmary. Someone had donated, and I think I'd mentioned in a thread somewhere earlier that if you have any stuff like that you want to donate, that you might consider reaching out to the infirmary. They don't need old ratty, nasty stuff. But if you have things like, I literally have another boot that I'm going to send them that I was issued, and I was not a good patient that time. I wore it for a day and said, this thing sucks and I'm never wearing it again. So it's practically brand new, and I'm going to send it to them, and they don't even have to clean it. It's like new.
Has anyone mistaken it for an ankle bracelet?
No one has had the nerve to say anything about it, but who knows? I never claim to really be in tune with what people think about me or how I'm doing things. I just, whatever.
Are you still wearing your boot, Jeff?
You saw it, right?
Okay. So I'll make sure.
Yeah. That was on my foot when I just held it up. And I am wearing.
I stopped wearing mine. I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, toes and foot bones are a little, the meat of the foot, I think, are a little bit different. You really can't do too much for the toes. But I had, unfortunately, was it March? I think March of 21, I broke the same bone in the same place. Not many bears that time. That time I was, I slipped in the mud, trying to carry something up a hill at night and hit a rut, and my foot cocked over and the bone snapped, and it healed in time for the trek a few months later. Everything was fine. I've done 2 treks. I've completed 2 treks without that bone failing me, but those damn mini bears, they got me. So, yeah. Anyhow, what else was there? Let me show you some pictures that I missed earlier. This is the pile of hail that fell off of the crew dining flight, it looks like, from Brian's pictures.
Yeah.
Yep, that looks kind of similar to what we had there at Baldy Town with hail. And I know people have been experiencing hail at Philmont for a long time, and there's just nothing new here. This was a new one for me, the extent to which we had hail. And I heard other people talk about hail. So, yeah.
I had it one time where it looked like that the next morning.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And I heard
it looked like 2 to 4 inches of snow after it was done, and the next morning it looked like that.
Yeah. I don't recall if I posted the video where I was getting my feet out of the hail, like where I stood under Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. That, like, seriously, I went back and watched the video where I walked up to it, and I could see it from a distance, and I'm like, why did I even go to that tree? it had like one branch on it and it had a little sprig sticking out. That's it. Like it was doing nothing for me. It was purely, in my head, I felt like I was being protected, but there was nothing up there. That was just very poorly thought out. But if you see in that video, it was over the top. I was wearing the boots that day, and one of the things I do in that video is I reach down in the top, because I don't tie the top of them. Like I put a little knot, the laces are long. I put a little knot in it so the laces wouldn't be dragging on the ground, but I don't like tighten them. And I was pulling the ice balls out from around my ankle. I had like 5 or 6 of them around each ankle. It was crazy, but it had built up in depth enough that it was up to the top of the boots. So it's crazy, absolute craziness, the amount of ice that came down. So let's see. Being sent back to base camp early, I got a little more time to wander around and talk to people. So there will be even more videos, some additional interviews, some additional information that I'll be able to share. I saw a lot of things behind the scenes. I've got a dining hall tour, behind the scenes dining hall tour that I'll share. Some of the maintenance facilities. I tried to hit things that no one ever sees, right? Campers never see a lot of things. I already shared some videos of like backcountry dispatch in the backcountry, what do they call it? The backcountry warehouse, where things get sent out to people in the field. And also, and this is something that I really had not wrapped my head around, when staff comes in for their days off and they have to get back out in the field at the end of their days off, they either got to hike out or have a personal vehicle that can take them most of the way and then do some hiking, or they got to catch a ride. And if they go to the backcountry dispatch to get a ride, I saw some of these people standing there for hours waiting on rides to get out there. I don't think I didn't appreciate what they go through, the amount of time they give up to be able to, on their day off time, waiting just to get a ride so they can get back out to work. So I got a tour of the, what do they call it? The staff association building, where they've got the pool tables in the kitchen and theater rooms and other things in there. So lots of neat things that some of the videos are up. Some will be posted soon, but I'm trying to get more and more behind the scenes stuff to help everyone appreciate a little bit more what the staff goes through. Let's see. Norm had said something earlier. Lots of mountain lions, especially around ciphers. I thought I'd heard that Poneal had a kind of active mountain lion family that was in that area this year. And bear at Clark's Fork. My crew saw, I've yet to see a bear at Philmont. My crew saw a bear right before I came around the corner. They were watching a bear and they took pictures and video of it. So I saw it, but it stepped into the woods like right as I was coming around the corner, and everyone's staring and I'm like, what are y'all looking at? You're just looking at a row of trees. No, the bear just walked up there. So I missed it. That was at, where was that? Pueblano. That was by the staff cabin at Pueblano. There's like a ravine right beside it. The bear was right on the other side of that ravine. And one of my kids was at a remote backcountry spike camp, and they had bears that were there all the time. She was telling me this afternoon, as she was frustrated to be sitting in an airport waiting on a flight that would eventually be canceled. She said, this is not the type of excitement I was looking for. Yesterday, I charged a bear because the bear was trying to get into their bear box, and they were trying to unload it so they could, close up the camp and get back into base camp. And the bear kept coming around. So a couple of them ran out and scared the bear away. And I was like, don't tell your mother that. But so there are lots of critters out there. Apparently there are 2 or 3 of them in that Flume Canyon up to Elkhorn, maybe over towards Head of Dean kind of area that wander around quite a bit. But that's trying to think, and I don't know. I'll tell you what, this I was dreading this month's program because I've never come off the trail before. I got to tell you, watching the pictures come in, people would get people on my crew or the sister crew, which was also from the same contingent. They were sharing pictures to like a group share. What is it called? It's band.us. I'd never heard of it before, but it's like a communications file sharing group area. And I kept seeing these pictures come in. I was like, I'm sitting at home in my office and my crew was still out on the trail for like a week. And that was gut wrenching. It was very painful. It was not a pleasant experience. So I got to redeem myself. I guess I'm going to have to figure out how to get back out there next year. So I'll have to update my post in the people looking for crew advisors section to say, yes, I will be available for a 2025 trek.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to bring mini bear repellent. I think I'm just going to roll the dice this time. Although, what was it called? See, I don't think I can show you the picture I'm thinking of because I don't want to incriminate anyone. But I saw a picture. I know what it was called now. It was it was a large cylindrical object that might be swung, and it said kitty corrector on it. It was from one of the camps that had some mountain lions in the area. And I think the staff were had maybe had a close call or two and had tried to give themselves a little bit more of a level playing field with an implement. So I don't think I'm going to carry a kitty corrector with me because that's a lot of weight. But I figure, no, you know what? I'm not even going to make a joke about sacrificing a scout to save myself because that would be in poor taste. So never mind. I'm not even going to go there. All right. I think we have probably exceeded our time this evening. So, any other lessons, any things from this summer that anyone wants to talk about before we check out?
Nope.
I wouldn't
was a
say for
good
this
summer for
summer,
us.
but I think the Trek lottery is coming up for 2026, right? October 1st.
October, yeah.
All right.
Did anyone else
Get
hear
ready.
that there's a waiting list for next year already?
Yes, it's all full.
Yeah.
That's what we were told 2 weeks ago. You can still get on it, but I can't remember what the number was. I think they were at somewhere over 17,000 registered next year.
I'm
That's
curious
good.
if the October
Yeah.
1st deposit is going to affect that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. October. Yeah, 1st of October when the second payment's due.
When,
The real one.
That's the real payment's due October 1st. That's
Yeah.
going to drop a lot of people right there.
Yep.
What I understand is all the 12-day treks are sold out for next. On paper, they're all sold out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, and there's a few 7 days at the end, and that's about it.
And
But
we
again-
had one up a couple of years ago, and so did Andy. So, I mean, it happens a lot, I'm sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if
I'd
you're on the
also
waiting,
jump on. We talked about the BMI requirements. It was last month before.
Yeah.
And this is a good time to start planning to shed that weight, get in better shape, because as we talked about, it's no joke. They had 60 or 70 people that they sent home, which that
Yep.
would suck.
And that's when I was there. That was
exactly. Yeah.
that was
Probably more.
mid-July.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're having our 4-crew meet and greet this Saturday, and definitely that is one thing I'm going to talk about. I'm actually going to put the weight chart up on the board there as a PDF and show it to everybody. So look, here's your numbers. If you can't match it, don't waste your time, my time, and Philmont's time for showing up. Simple as that.
I've mentioned
You got
before,
a year.
we had one adult in 2022 that year and a half before, he had to shed about 120 pounds, and he did.
Ooh.
Oh, he's a
Ooh.
big guy, and he shed basically a scout, and but it was tough, and I pulled him aside from the very beginning. I said, all right, have you read about the BMI requirements? He said, absolutely, yes, I have. I said, okay, I want to be upfront that you're going to have to meet that, or they're not going to let you in. So prepare now. And it took him a while, and he did it. So it's possible, but can't just show up like we've talked about and expect that they're going to let you in, because they're not.
You have to mean it. To lose that much, you have to mean it.
And the crew that I was with, I saw something that it was a little different than what I'd heard about before. Everyone says if you're close to your limit for BMI, call and talk to someone in the infirmary. And one of the adults that I talked to had done that, had talked to one of the head people there in the infirmary and had a target that said, if you show up at this weight, given that you have done 5 treks already, and many of them in just the last couple years, and you are an active martial artist and you do, other active things, if you show up at this number, you'll be okay. We showed up at that number, which was slightly over his BMI weight limit number, and they pulled him out. And, so if you're in, and this is something else I did, I spent several hours in medical recheck just watching crews come through. They just let me sit there and observe and listen to the discussions. And it was, you guys saw the post I put up about it. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible seeing the look on the people's faces when they realized, like, I'm going home right now. I spent all this money and I'm going home, and I'm letting my crew down. And, maybe they got a kid that's out there that now is not going to have them with them. And they knew when they were showing up. So that's everyone else. But then this guy that was on the crew that I'm talking about, he had that number, and they pulled him out and they told him, well, we're not so sure. See if you can lose a little bit. He put on sweatsuits and a rain jacket and a light, like a day pack, loaded up with some stuff, and went running. He lost 6 pounds that day, which was stupid. And he said it. He's like, this is ridiculous, but they want me to prove something. I'm going to prove it to him. And he went out, he came back, he got on the scale, it was 5 pounds lighter. And he said, yeah, but this shirt's sopping wet. Let me take it off. They said, no, you're okay. You don't have to. And he said, nope, I'm taking it off. There was another pound just in that shirt. He lost 6 pounds in a couple hours. And they literally told him, well, we just wanted to see some commitment. We wanted to see that you were really invested in doing this. And I was like,
that's a little ridiculous, I think, but
I might have a problem with this. I completely get the logic of, and I saw some of these people come in. Here's the ironic part, right? I'm going to tell you what I said, but keep in mind, I came off the trail on day 5 and I came home early, right? So who am I to talk? But I saw people getting off the bus and I was like, oop, that guy's going home. I'd see him at the Welcome Center getting off the bus. I'm like, that guy ain't going to make the trail. I guarantee you. And then one of them I saw in med recheck and he got sent home. And I was like, why did he even come? Like, people read the information. It's published. And if you're close, you can try to negotiate something, but I've seen it firsthand. Doesn't matter what you negotiate. You show up, that there is a physician that's going to have to evaluate whether they want to make an exception for you. And it doesn't matter what some other staff person told you on the phone. That physician is going to make the final decision.
Yeah, I'd want to get that in writing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before I went all the way out there.
Yeah. Yeah. But the solution, seriously, Rob, 120 pounds. Like, if someone can't lose 20 or 30 pounds, everyone's situation is different, but knowing that people have lost a whole scout, it's kind of hard to say, well, I get why you couldn't make it. It's like, well, no. Either you commit and you make it or you don't. But if you're not going to make it, just don't put everyone through that. like you're screwing with everyone. Someone's going to have to help you with transportation to get out of there, and where are you going to stay? Like, it is a whole series of hassles, and then you're not going to be there with your crew, and they may have been counting on you for something. Like, don't even do it, man. Get your stuff together before you get there, and don't put yourself or anyone else through all that drama. And I know I ticked some people off before, and I'll probably tick them off with what I just said tonight, but I'm telling you, man, seeing what some of those people went through,
Well,
it was hard to watch.
Here's the deal. I mean, 40 years ago, I was a ranger. I had a kid. I remember specifically one crew. After 5 minutes resting, and we were just going from Lover's Leap to Uraka, which isn't a very, I mean, it's what, 800 feet vertical, not a whole lot of vertical. And after 5 minutes of resting, his heart rate was still 160. And it took us, I believe, 6 hours to get that distance.
Oh my gosh.
And that was just an easy hike. What are we going to do like the next 8 days on the trail? And so when they put out these guidelines and want the crews to hike, do some practice hikes and really get to know it, it's for your own good, so that when you get there, you can have fun.
Yeah. And it's hard. I don't want to judge people, right? So the guy up in the air here is me. I'm 6'4", probably at that point 205. I'm probably 205 today as well. And the guy lifting me is the one that was over the BMI limit. And this was, after hiking all day, we were doing a skit. This was something really cool that the ranger did to illustrate all of the leave no trace principles. She assigned skits, and the adults got the last one, the last leave no trace principle. So our skit was, I was the rude hiker that would not cede right of way on the trail to the uphill bound crew. And we ended up in an altercation, and that was how not to do it. And then you see Dora, the woman to the right in the picture. She stepped in and said, "Okay, scene. Now we're going to redo it the right way." And then, on that one, let me see, we high-fived instead of having an altercation. But dude was a beast, seriously. And all the hiking that I saw, carrying extra stuff we had a scout that was a little ill, and he carried some of the stuff for that scout. He was a beast. He wasn't an issue. And in retrospect, it was like, why did they decide to give him a hard time? But they don't know. Looking at him, he doesn't look like a beast. He looks like someone who's pushing a little bit on the overweight side. I mean, how would they know that he was going to be great on the trail, So don't, even if you think you're like the super athlete, just get under the weight. Don't put him in a position of trying to have to judge you and decide if you're going to be a liability when you're out there. Okay, so we have gone significantly over our time. We're 20 minutes over. Thanks everyone for being here. I really appreciate Brian. Thank you. Appreciate you coming and joining us as
Thanks,
the
everybody.
new panel. Sal, we can't get rid of Sal. He's been here forever. So it's nice to have some blood every now. What? It's nice to have some blood every now and then.
I think he's calling you old. I think.
Yeah, I don't even know. Things just come out sometimes.
I know.
There's the tooth of time, and then there's Sal.
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, at least I hiked mine track with a broken foot. Ooh, I didn't get pulled.
I mean, let's not.
No, I was going to
We
tell
won't
a
quibble
foot.
over details. Toes.
If you had a chair, you wouldn't have had to have that problem with your foot. So
there you go.
Wow. No, I got to redeem myself. I'm embarrassed. Seriously, as much crap as I give people about everything, then I didn't even finish the trek. Like, come on, it's ridiculous.
Hey, I broke my foot before I went down the trek and kept on. I didn't tell anybody.
Toes, Sal. Toes.
No, it's foot.
Oh, okay.
I
Whatever.
broke the foot.
So anyhow, thanks everyone for being here. Thanks for everyone who left questions and comments. We really appreciate it. Don't be shy. We do this once a month. It is the second Tuesday of the month at 9 p.m. Eastern. We'll be here every time answering questions and having a good time. But go join the group on Facebook if you haven't already and ask your questions there any day of the month. You don't have to wait for the second Tuesday. I think we covered everything that I can think of for now. We should probably shut it down. Is anyone not ready?
Hike on.
Ready?
Nikon.